Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you the basics to Bifrost fluids. This way you can make your own liquid simulations in Maya. Now, to get started, we're going to create a new Maya scene. If you already have a scene that you want to just put this into, that is completely fine. Now, in our new Maya scene, first thing we want to do is we want to come up to our poly modeling shelf here and we want to select a sphere. We're going to move this up slightly, just so that it's above the grid. Now, I'm going to quickly rename my sphere in my little outliner to ball, just to keep it all nice and tidy. Once we've done that, we can come over to the effects tab, and we need to find something called Bifrost fluids. Now, at the moment, you guys won't have that, so if we come over to Windows, come to settings and preferences, go to plugin manager and search up Bifrost. Just make sure all of these checkboxes are ticked. Once you've done that, do a quick restart of Maya, and then we can get back to the tutorial. Now that you have the plugin for Bifrost installed, you can click on your little sphere, and you can go to Bifrost Fluids, and you can click Create Liquid. Once you do that, you should see a little square appear around your ball. Now once we click play, you'll see little droplets falling off. If you can't see your particles fall live when you click play on the timeline, then come down to the bottom right where you see this little running man with a cog. Once you click that, come down to playback speed. You want this to be set to play every frame. If it's not set to that, you won't see your particles appear live. Now, click save, and we can continue with the tutorial. At the moment, our droplets are very small, so we're going to select our Bifrost Liquid 1, and we're going to come over to point size. I'm just going to increase this to around 3, just so I can see it. Now if we go back to frame 1 and click play, as you can see, it is much nicer. Now I am just going to set my frame range to around 200 so that we can have a nice little flow of water and not have it cut off by our limited frames. Now that we have this, as you can see, it's only doing one little droplet. We want this to be a continuous emitter. So we're going to come over here to Bifrost Emitter Props 1. We're going to click Continuous Emission. Now if we go back to frame 1, we can see that it is now continuously emitting the water. Once we're at this point, let's make a container for our water to drop into. So we're going to come over to our little poly modeling tab again, and we're going to grab a square. Now I'm just going to move it just above the grid. You don't have to do this, but I prefer to have it this way. Now click R to enter the resize tool, and we're going to resize this to about here. Then we're going to drag this up. Now we're going to hold right click and go to our little face option. We're going to select the top face, click Ctrl E, click on this little cube here, and drag this one in the middle inwards a bit. Once you've done that, click G to use extrude again, and pull it down. Now, once you've done that, you can go back to object mode, and click play on our little timeline. As you can see, our water is currently dropping through our container. We don't want this, we want our container to collide with the water. So, we're going to select our container, shift left click on our little square here, we're going to come up to Bifrost Fluids and click Collider. Now that we've done that, once we click play, our water should now collide with our container. Now we're going to come back to frame 1. So now we want to actually see what our water looks like. So we're going to come over here to panels, we're going to go to layouts, we're going to do 2 panes side by side, and we're going to come over to this little camera, and we're going to click perspective. This way we just have the same camera here, but on the one on the right, we're going to come up to renderer and we're going to click Arnold. At the moment, of course, we can't see anything. That's because we don't have any lights in our scene. So we're going to come up to Arnold and we're going to click on our little sky dome here. As you can see, it adds a bit of light to our scene. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to decrease the color of our skybox, and I'm going to add a area light. I'm going to move this back a bit, scale it up, move it up slightly, and increase the intensity to 10 and the exposure to 5. This way we can get more controlled lighting on our scene. Okay, I've done lighting like this, but if you want to do the lighting differently, that is completely fine. So, now we can see our little container and our little water emitter, and we can click play and pause it here, and as you can see, we can now see a little bit of our rendered water. Now, at the moment, our water doesn't really look that realistic. So, the next step would be to come over to our Bifrost liquid properties, and we're just going to have a look through here. So, the first thing we want to change here in the little resolution tab is the master voxel size. We're going to change this value to 0.2. Now we come down here to our transport step adaptivity. We're going to change this to 0.6. And when we come down here, we see time step adaptivity. We're going to change this to 0.3. Now once we go back to frame 1, we can click play on our little timeline, and we can see there's lots more particles than before. Once we click stop, we can see that our water is much more realistic than it was before. Now what we can do is we can actually change the color of our liquid. So if we come over to Bifrost Liquid 1 and click the little plus symbol here, the little drop down menu with Liquid 1 will appear. We can come over to Liquid 1 and we can go all the way to the end until we find AI Standard Surface. We're going to go down here to Transmission, and as you can see, we've got two little color options here. For the first one, I'm just going to make mine bright pink, maybe a little bit purple. Then on the scatter, I'm just going to make mine purple. Try and keep the scatter a darker color to the actual color, as it's more realistic that way. Now as you can see, our water is looking a lot prettier. There's another cool thing that we can do with our liquid, and that is if we come over to Bifrost Liquid Properties 1, scroll all the way down until we find viscosity, we can click on here and we can change this to 1000. What this does is basically changes the thickness of our water. So we can now have it like slime. So if we click play, as you can see, it kind of droops down like slime would. Now once we click pause, now we have a nice pink slime. That is the basics of Bifrost fluids. I hope you learned something from my tutorial, and thank you for watching.